because now it's a very different world that we live in, right? The traditional, uh, family unit is not necessarily what's desired anymore. Because I know, just as, from my perspective, I have a very strong feminine woman. There's a lot of shame for men, right? There's a lot of shame that we're not taught how to process or feel, right? We have porn as one of those things that is like our education system of what a woman wants in bed. And it's like far from the truth. It's like not even close to that.
I'm about to blow. I'm Tupac with the nouns and Biggie with the flow. Big boy with the style and Andre with the fro.
What's up, man?
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doing well.
Hell yeah. Stoked for this.
Yeah. How's father life?
Wild.
How
Wild. She's almost 13 months now.
Okay.
Yeah, so she just turned a year, beginning of January.
Yeah, Athena turned 2 in December.
Wow.
And it's a big difference between 1 and 2.
I can imagine. Well, yeah, she's walking, she's talking, right?
Yep. Yeah, she took her first steps on her actual first birthday.
Her first birthday?
Yeah.
By herself?
Yeah, she walked from the couch over to grandma.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Now she just doesn't stop walking and wanting to go do stuff. And oh man,
I mean, that's got to be amazing though.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's definitely, it can be a lot sometimes.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, it's amazing.
I get that. Luna has been sleeping through the night, so that's a first for
good.
us. You probably heard this statistic. The average parent loses 700 hours of sleep within the first 12 months of their child being born.
Wow.
700 hours. I'm like, well, that makes sense why the relationship challenges, the not knowing what day it is, all the stuff, right? It's like there's another statistic where it's like not most couples, they say a high percentage of couples, their relationship after having a child like ends within 2 years.
I can see that.
Yeah. And I don't think that's something that's very widely talked about, because like all the energy, as you know, you and Sam know, it's like all the energy goes to baby.
Yep.
So
it really does. It's super important to like actually make time and be able to plan for that time together and stuff like that. Luckily for us, Samantha's mom lives right now like 2 minutes away.
Wow.
Walking, but she's moving like a 10-minute drive away because they lost their house in Helene. They got 3.5 feet of water in it because they lived in Hudson, just a couple blocks away from the Gulf.
Yeah.
And they lost everything, so they started renting in the housing complex that we did, and then they found a house that they ended up buying a new one. Luckily, her mom's boss owns like a roofing company, and they're like really, really good friends. So he actually bought her house that got destroyed for how much they owed on it, and then let them keep all the insurance money.
Wow.
So they got super, super lucky.
That's talk about God's blessing right there.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, the hurricane was rough for a lot of people. I don't know if you know this. I'm a part of the state emergency response team for community crisis stabilization and mental health. So helping stabilize communities after natural disasters. Mentally, right?
That.
Physically, emotionally, all of it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of it.
We had over 30,000 people impact, like that we personally were able to serve. So
Wow.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Damn. It's just, yeah. And then everybody with the fires, like it just kind of leaves you speechless, man.
It's like, what's supposed to, something's obviously happening, right? And there, think there's a correction. And it's funny because, so I don't know if you know this, I actually started reading the Bible again after
Oh
10
yeah.
years of like not even touching it, being Buddhist and studying Taoism and all this stuff. I just felt this like deep calling to return back to something that I misunderstood for a very long time because I grew up Roman Catholic. And
I
so
grew
there's
up
like,
Catholic as well. Yeah.
so yeah, did you have that like enforced on you and like, you're going to go to hell if you don't believe in this way? And
Yep. Yeah.
yeah,
It put a bad taste in my mouth as well.
yeah. So that was, my belief for the longest time. And I just never resonated with that. But because the last 2 years, I think just been such a initiation of it in and of itself, right? Men go through the initiations in the beginning of their life, or they should go through initiations, right?
Yeah.
Um, but we don't necessarily have that here in the States. But then another initiation is like becoming a father. It's like a whole, and this, it's a whole other world. It's like, there's like before fatherhood and then there's after fatherhood. But then there's not really a support system for mom or dad, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm the first one out of all of my friends to have a kid.
Same.
So maybe we should start a fathers group.
Yeah.
Um, and it just felt like, oh, wow, I feel alone again in this. And that whole process was like, geez, and I'm not sleeping. We're not communicating well. We're not relating well, right? Baby needs attention. Business is not doing the greatest. And my health was also something that was on the table too. That was like, I need to figure this shit out. And tying it all back in, I was like, why do I feel like I have to always do it alone? Like, why do I feel like I am my own God?
Yeah.
When this, I don't know where my Bible is, it's somewhere over there, but it's like this biblical text that's been documented as real by thousands of historians. It's like this person actually existed. Whether, I'm not trying to project my own beliefs. That's not what I'm here to do. But it's like this person actually existed. So why am I fighting it? And ever since then, it's been like I've been going to this business leadership group. There's over 200 people there this morning at Radiant Church. If you're
Oh,
familiar
dude,
with
love
that.
that's the one that I was going to when I lived down there.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Radiant
good.
Church, the business group, all the people there.
Yeah.
Who's running it? Is it still? Oh, why can't I think of his name? It was the pastor for the St. Pete location.
So I'll name the ones that are doing it. And there's Jordan Reese. He's a location pastor for South Tampa.
Okay.
Then there's Ralph. Ralph is one of the OGs of the group I think he and Aaron started it. Aaron's the lead pastor for Radiant, as you know. And then there's two Matthews. One is like Matthew Blair, and I forget the other Matthew.
Okay.
But those are the four that normally run it. And it's just been super powerful to be around a ton of men who are just focused on, well, they're not just focused on business, but like scripture through business and like, tailoring it to business, but also talking about and navigating personal challenges in their lives with their relationships, with their finances, with their, their career. And it's just been amazing.
Oh, dude, I love that.
Yeah.
I love that for you, man. Cause like back when Samantha and I got together, I was starting to rebuild my faith, but I still wasn't like there yet. And she was kind of interested in it as well, because she kind of had a little faith growing up and then kind of lost it. I think a lot of people that get into like that spiritual, very spiritual side of the niche, They end up praising a higher power, but it's not necessarily God. And I feel like a lot of them just kind of start veering that way because that's like the thing to do in that culture, from what I've seen as like an outsider kind of looking in, and Samantha bringing me into all these different groups. But we sat there and we're like, you know what, we should find a church near us. And not even a week later, we got a flyer in the mail, and it was for Radiant Church. And we started going. We were going every Sunday, and then we had Athena, so we would watch it online the Sundays that we couldn't actually get up and get her there. Yeah. And then she just started screaming in church, and we're like, yeah, you know what, we're just going to watch this online.
They have the kids program.
Yep. She's really nervous to like leave her places. We found a church up here because Radiant hasn't made it up this far yet. And it's called Cross Point. And they actually have they call it Fight Night. And it's this Friday, actually. And it's just a men's group that they're putting on. I haven't gone or anything like that. I haven't really even met anybody from that church. But I plan on going just to kind of check it out and see if I can start building some relationships. I think that's one of the hardest things to do as an adult, especially an adult entrepreneur, because you're so misunderstood.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's
brother.
Yeah, that's funny. I get it.
Thank you so much for being here today. I kind of want to just kind of start out and just have you share a little bit about you and what you do. We can continue the conversation that we were just doing, and just kind of wherever it leads us, we can go there.
Sounds great. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate this opportunity to connect, for one, have a conversation, and hopefully leave your listeners with some golden nuggets or some bombs that you talked about dropping. So, but I'm Fabiano Mannino. I'm an executive transformation coach. I work with 7 and 8 figure entrepreneurs, business owners, CEOs, founders, executives. And you know, it's funny because I actually had this conversation this morning. They were asking me, like, so do you do business coaching? I'm like, yes. And it's not like, I don't focus on the business. I focus on the individual, because that is what affects the business. Yep. And it's more so the personal aspect of the individual. I've been working with men specifically, but I do work with women as well. But I focus on their personal life more so, because if their wife is not happy, normally everything else in their life is miserable. So I help them create a different connection with them, with their kids, and with their own internal world. And it's been really powerful. I'm actually, the last couple of years have like made me reflect on my own life, of where it is that I'm not necessarily showing up in the ways that I need to. And just for your listeners, I'll be fully open and honest about my life and the shit that I've gone through, because I think we don't need more gurus. We need more relatable people.
Yep, 100%.
So it's funny, that question, who am I? I'm a father to a baby girl. She just turned 1. Her name is Luna Bella. It was the first form of unconditional love, as I can imagine that that I've ever experienced, because we talk about it in intimacy and relationship world and having unconditional love for your partner. But until I had her, I didn't understand or like feel internally what that actually meant. And so through all the sleepless nights and the crying and not eating or whatever's happening, it's like you still look at this little being and you're like, oh my God, I love you so much.
Yeah.
Like this little thing is like a blessing from God, I think, to help us really understand what love actually is. And
I love that.
It's so powerful. And I feel very blessed to have her in a committed relationship with my partner, Lulu. Everyone says she's my wife. She's not my wife yet. But moving towards that track. And I'm just a human being. I'm a man in this world trying to figure out navigating as best as I possibly can while serving people in the process.
So like, I just had a kid 2 years ago. You had one a year ago. I'd love to know, like, how has having a child kind of shaped the way that you look at life, business, relationships, all of that stuff?
Yeah. Great question. What I feel is happening, it's, the ego wants to have all these achievements and accolades, right? It's like, I want to serve this many people. I want to make this much money. I want to impact. I want social presence. I want all of this stuff that at the end of the day actually means nothing, right? It means something to the people that we get to serve. But as far as like the attachment to it, it means nothing, because God doesn't care about influence, right? God cares about the assignment that he is giving you. Again, these are my beliefs, in the process of being able to be of service to people. And in that process, you'll be rewarded for it, right? It doesn't mean instantaneously. It takes time and takes faith. But one thing I've learned through this is it has less to do about what I'm here to do and more about how I show up for my family, because my daughter and my partner will ultimately be a representation of how I treat them and how much I've been able to serve them. That will be ultimately my legacy, more so than the other stuff that I'll do. Because that can change, right? But the way that I show up now, as best as I try to be, she's ultimately going to be like, you fucked me up, or thank you so much, I love you so much, kind of thing, right?
Yep.
So it's like the ultimate form, I believe, of, I didn't have that before. And so my viewpoint of leaving a legacy is not just this, this business that I'm creating, but more so about my family.
I love that. No, I completely agree, because I know before I had Athena, I was like, I want all these fancy cars. I want this massive house. And like, I still want that stuff. But the main thing that I want is to make sure that my daughter has everything that she needs in order to become the human I know that she can become. I did a post not too long ago that was like, it was like a meme of homeschooling your kids because you don't want them to come home one day and your daughter says that she's a boy and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I had so much hate in the comment section saying that, like, oh, you're just indoctrinating them into your beliefs. But I feel like as parents, like, that's our goal, and that's our job, is to indoctrinate them into beliefs that are sound and solid, but still teach them to think for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're laying the right foundation for them to be able to discern what's right, what's wrong, morally, ethically, and the values, right? Like I believe it's the man's job in partnership with his woman, right? Because now it's a very different world that we live in, right? The traditional, family unit is not necessarily what's desired anymore. Because I know, just as, from my perspective, I have a very strong feminine woman who also wants to have her input and wants to be heard and has her own ambitions and her own mission and vision for the world. And me just telling her, like, this is the way, it's not going to work. Right? It's like, this is what I believe. And, what do you believe? And let's co-create a set of values and, a vision for our relationship, our family, that we can pass on to Luna.
Love
because
that.
ultimately she's gonna, then search for that in a partner.
Yep.
As well.
Oh, 100%. It's setting an example of like who you want her to find in a partner. You can do two different ways. You can show her what not to go and find by just being an ass and not living up to the expectations that you should be living up to. Or you can be completely opposite side and show her what a loving relationship is and stuff like that, because that's really what this world needs. I think it's the statistics of people in prison are like 80 to 90% of them don't have a father in the home, something crazy like that, which just kind of blows my mind how that one thing can just completely impact so many people's lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did a study. I can't remember exactly which one it is. There's actually a bunch of them, but it did a study on Black communities, predominantly Black communities. And they said in those communities, it's not the lack of a father, it's the lack of a healthy father figure
Yeah.
for young boys or young girls to have or to see what it's like to grow up with, healthy structure, healthy foundation, a safe space to be able to actually cry and express and whatever it is that wants to come out. Because kids don't know what they're doing at a certain point, right? They're just expressing. I would even think like at some point adults should be able to just do that too, but we hold it all in, right? It's like we need safe spaces for that to happen as well. But going back to the children, it's like they need that. They need a father figure.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause like me growing up, if I were to show my emotions and everything like that, my stepdad would be like, "Oh, let me give you something to cry about," or say something like that. So I learned that showing my emotions, crying, all of that was a sign of weakness. And I'm a little bitch if I do that.
Yeah.
And more like pain is going to be inflicted on me if I allow myself to like let that out, which is just completely messed up for any kid to have to even think that way.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. It's not even like it's not even you're doing it intentionally. You're not thinking about like this intentionally. It's a safety mechanism.
Yep.
Right. It's like, oh, okay. So me crying is, and them telling me, because I heard the same thing. What are you crying about? I'll give you something to cry about. Now I've had healing conversations with my family, but without going too much into that, a kid doesn't know the difference between like, okay, I'm not being accepted as who I am. So now I have to chameleon into someone who is going to get the love and attention that they need.
Yep.
Right. And just speaking predominantly about men here, that's where the nice guy, right? You've probably heard the nice guy syndrome comes into play. But for women, the people pleaser, right? So that's a big thing too. And it's this cyclical cycle of just like, can we just create a space for children to fully express and then have a conversation with them about like, hey, tell me what just happened.
Yep. So I know the one thing that you kind of talk about a lot is like being able to lead as a male. And I know like the one thing you brought up a couple minutes ago was I try to lead my girl and she has her own opinions and stuff like that. So like, how does a man lead when he is with a woman that's, let's say, more in her masculine than her feminine?
So another great question. I think we're also trying to figure it out. No, but really, I think getting to a point, and I'll just speak for my own relationship. I've gotten to a point where because let me see how to say this. A nice guy will not communicate or speak his truth at all out of fear of being abandoned, rejected, not loved, and that happy wife, happy life mentality, which God, everybody is disgusted by. Sorry if anyone, that triggers anybody, but it's not a healthy place to be. Now, communicating my truth and like what is right for me, what I believe. So like we're, not crib training, but Luna likes sleeping in her own crib. And there's certain cries, because we don't do the cry it out method because we believe that's, can be traumatizing, which it is.
We don't do it either.
Yeah. But there's certain ways that the cries affect my woman versus the ways that they affect me. And if we constantly go in there for the littlest cry, then it's going to affect, it's going to teach Luna that we're just going to constantly be coming in and out. It's going to disrupt her sleep cycle. It's going to disrupt her going to sleep. And so sometimes I have to, I communicate, this is what I do. I'm like, hey, this is one of those cries that's not as intense as, the other ones are. Yep. Let's just see if it happens. Let's see what happens in the next 30 seconds to a minute. And then if nothing happens, if it gets worse, then I'll go in, because we've noticed it's better if I go in because she's very stimulated by mom. And that's normal. That's actually a connection mom and baby have. It's different for us, right? Because we don't, this baby wasn't growing inside of us, that's my belief, at least compared to what society believes in any current moment. But we didn't grow this baby inside of us. So we don't have that bond in that way. And so she still has her opinion. She still has her beliefs. And for me to just say, no, this is my way and we're going to do it, would be pretty douchebaggery. Of a way to go about it. But listening to her and hearing her in the ways of what her concerns are, I'm still leading, but I'm also in a place where I'm taking in her perspective and I'm going to listen, because, I don't think it's just my way, because I don't think that's what a healthy man does. Right. But it's this is where I want to go. And she's not resistant all the time. She's like, yeah, you're right. That makes sense. It's just really hard for me. And what I know is, based on experience, she just wants to be heard in what she's feeling and in her concerns. And I believe that's how a man leads, is taking into consideration the other person in this partnership. Because we have to get to a point where it's you guys probably understand this as well, you and Sam. You don't need each other, but you need each other.
Yep.
Right? And so when we can get to a point where it's okay, I'm my own person, she's her own person. How can we come together, co-create a family and build something and respect each other in the process and love each other through the most challenging times that have already transpired, and figure out how to do this life together.
No, I completely agree. And I think you should be grateful because Athena does not like to sleep in a crib, and she never really liked to sleep in a crib. So I actually haven't slept in the same bed as my wife in, it's been a year now, I think, because she sleeps in Athena's bed with her. Otherwise, Athena will just wake up 8 times a night. So she'll have to get up, go in there, come back. So she just found it easier to do that. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Yeah, man, you described the first year of Luna, the first whole year was sleeping in separate rooms, and not because of any other reason, but the fact that the co-sleeping aspect, it's actually really helps the child build secure attachment styles, which you probably saw that study. It's up until the age of 7. I'm I don't know if I can do this till the age of 7, but we'll try it out. So, but it's hard. It's it's challenging, and I've slept on the couch because of that whole same process.
Yep.
But one thing that we started to notice, one, she sleeps a lot better with me. 2, we were okay, let's just try to see what happens. Let's just try, because we weren't about crib training. We're not about the cried out method. We actually, love the co-sleeping aspect of it. But it's challenging because I'm constantly getting kicked, or, she's crying or something's happening. Right. And it's hard for all 3 of us to sleep. So I was okay, I'll buy a crib, set up the whole room, everything. She has her own room. And I was let's just try this for her naps and see what happens. And dude, it was she sleeps 12 to 13 hours now straight.
Wow.
which is unheard of. She was waking up every 30 minutes, which you guys know, right? It's like,
Yeah.
it's hard because she's up, we're up. So
Yeah.
she loves it though.
There's a guy that goes to Radiant. His name's Casey. He was one of the people helping run the men's business group.
Okay.
I don't know if he still goes there or not. He's a financial advisor, but he said that his kids would sleep 12 hours a night as well. And I'm like, what kind of sorcery? Like, what prayers are you guys saying? Because we need some of this.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious because what I started doing, because I noticed she would not sleep through the night if I turned the lights off. But if I left her little night light on, like we have a pink Himalayan salt rock lamp, and then we also have one of these, it's called an egg light. It looks like an egg, changes different colors. If I set it to a certain color and then also had the salt rock lamp on different parts of the room, she would wake up, she would do her crying thing because that's all they know how to do. It's just part of their sleep cycle. But she wouldn't like cry. It was like, you know, she would do that and then go right back to sleep. But if I had it off, she would stay up because she couldn't see anything. She couldn't see what was going on. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe that'll help. I don't know if you guys do that or not, but maybe that'll help out. Because I definitely know how hard it is to not be sleeping with your woman and to not just sleep in general.
Yep. No, it's definitely, both of them are hard. But I'd rather do I get to sleep next to my woman hard.
Yeah. Yeah. Same.
So kind of moving on from like the parenting stuff. I know in one of your posts you said that a man's integrity is the foundation of his life. Can you unpack that for us? Like, why do so many men struggle with maintaining their integrity?
Shiny object syndrome, wanting and desiring love from all the wrong places, and taking shortcuts. I mean, there's a lot of shame for men. Right. There's a lot of shame that we're not taught how to process or feel. Right. We have porn as one of those things that is like our education system of what a woman wants in bed. And it's like far from the truth. It's like not even close to that. And there's a lot of shame behind that too. There's a lot of fear in life because there is a lot of demands on us in the world, right? Especially, I would even say more so now. And I'm not saying this just because, you know, it's like every generation says it. Like if you think about it, our parents grew up in the industrial age and now we're in the digital age and there's constantly something grasping for our attention.
Yep. Right?
There's a cell phone in our pocket, right here. I call it like the black hole because it's this black screen that just sucks you in.
Yeah.
And our parents didn't have that. They had phones connected to walls. They would say, hey, I'm going to be here at 4:00. And then they're there, right? There is no like, it's something happened, right? No one canceled. Now everybody cancels everything. There's constantly people showing their ass on Instagram and whatever else for attention and likes and everything. And men just get sucked into it because that's one of the things that visually stimulates us. And so there's just a lack of integrity in the world in general because, right, if we put God first and we know like, and again, this is just, again, my belief, but understanding what it's like to be Christ-like in Jesus as like this masculine, like the representation of like a masculine figure who is compassionate, who is loving, who cares, but it's also very direct. Like Jesus wasn't liked because of the things that he said and how direct he was and how assertive he was. but men are afraid to speak their truth because they don't know their place in the world right now. And I've been, even in the past 2 years, one of those men who has been like, what is happening in my life? Like, why is nothing working? Like, I get what it's like to be in a very dark place. I get what it's like to feel like, oh man, I wonder if life would be better off without me here. And for a lot of men that are listening to this, like, I see you and I get it, because there's a lot of shit on our plates right now.
Yeah.
But I believe that, and this has been something that's been so pivotal for me. I used to feel like I was doing it alone, and I built men's groups. I've hosted over 200 men's circles. I've done retreats, 50 plus workshops, all this stuff. And I still felt alone. But now I have this like internal knowing that God's got me. No matter what happens, like, God has got my back. And it's been such a pivotal shift for me. And even as far as like, okay, what would Jesus do in this situation? Like, how would he show up? What would he do? And it's really kind of helped me give some direction to, it's like, okay, I'm being out of integrity right now. Like, I'm not speaking my truth. I'm not allowing this person to speak their truth. And so I don't think it's that hard. I think when we're comparing it and trying to get the love of other people, then it becomes really hard. But if we can trust enough in the message that God has for us, and the love that is already deep within our hearts and in his heart, I think it's really hard to be out of integrity.
Love that, brother. No, and it's beautiful to like be able to have that perspective shift where you like are like in your day-to-day life thinking of how would Jesus handle this situation, because a lot of people don't think that way. And I do feel like in the last couple of years, a lot of people have been losing their faith, but I feel like a lot of people have also been rekindling that relationship with Jesus and all of that as well. So it's beautiful to kind of see how it's really started to impact you. Same with like my wife just brought in, she's being more like Christian with her business messaging, like all of these different things. And she started having more posts go viral, and people have been booking more calls with her. And it's just crazy to see when somebody just, I wouldn't say blindly follows, because she's really been doing these, like, she's been in years of self-discovery and really trying to figure out like where is her path in all of this, like, I would call crazy stuff, because you know, sometimes thinking that a man was resurrected can be crazy to some people. So I personally believe that it happened, and all of that. But yeah, it's just beautiful to see that you've kind of gone through this entire cycle. And meeting you, I think it was almost 3 years ago now, like, you're a completely different person than you are like today, but you still have that groundedness to you where you're still like that safe space for a lot of these men. And which kind of brings up what you were talking about, where you led all these men groups, but you still felt alone. And then you found that comfort in Jesus and stuff like that. And, you know, as entrepreneurs, as leaders and influencers and stuff like that, like, we get ourselves in that same position where we may have 1,000 to 10,000 clients that we're working with, but we continue to feel alone because we're like that top wolf and don't really, like, we chat with the people under us, but they look at us a completely different way than a friend would look at us. So it does feel completely alone.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent.
Oh, no, very, yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
It's one, thank you. I received that. That means a lot. And two, it's a real thing. You know, they say it's like you start to feel alone when, and I'm saying this like the proverbial top, right? It's not like this place where, you know, the people you're looking down on people, has nothing to do with that. It's just like when you're, and I know you understand this, but when you're operating at a different level in the sense of like business, thought process, beliefs, all this stuff, it's hard. It's been more challenging. I don't want to say it's harder. It's been more challenging to find other men who are on that path as well, until like going into this, you know, business leadership group where there's all these dudes who are operating at different levels and they all have different accolades and all this stuff, but they're there for one purpose, one vision, because they want to either be mentored or, you know, be a mentor.
Yep.
Right. And I think it's really beautiful when you can be around a lot of men who like get it.
No, I 100% agree. Because like even just, we used to do it, we wouldn't do it weekly on Monday mornings. When I first started doing it, we would do it in the evening, but it would be mixed. It was men and women in it. And then the second round, they just released it and had just a men's group, and then they had a women's group. But just being able to be around them, like recently, because I don't have that big of a group, like community here, I've joined like it's called Rise Up Kings. And essentially it just follows 4 pillars: faith, family, finance, or fitness, and then finance, all in that order. And just each day kind of gives you a couple things to do. And there's a little network that you can network with and stuff like that. But I think that every man needs a little bit of direction, whether that is reading the Bible and following the Bible, or just finding a group of people that you can actually relate to and be open and honest in everything with.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings me to like the next question. So you've challenged men to be fully committed in their relationships, whether that's avoiding distractions like porn or just truly investing in their partner. Why do you think so many men struggle with devotion?
What was the last word you just said? Struggle with
devotion.
Devotion. Great question. So, interesting. Well, there's a sense of freedom that is innately desired within all men. We're all masculine core individuals, I would say, even because there's some pretty masculine women as well out there, and there's some pretty feminine men. But I think at the core, like freedom is a big part, and commitment is a challenge for a lot of men, because biologically, if you take morals and ethics and all this other stuff out, right, men are meant to lay their seed in multiple places to repopulate the world and keep it going, yada, yada, yada. Obviously, we don't act in that way. Some men might, but I wouldn't say those are necessarily men. I would say like that's just, you know, a male with, you know, a boy inside of a male's body. As you can probably imagine, it's challenging when you trying to work with those men. But devotion, it's like your woman's a mirror for all the bullshit that you don't want to see about yourself. And that can be taken as pain, when in reality, it's like, if this person, you know, I like to still use the word oracle, right? Like this, you know, my woman is like my oracle, where she's shining a light on the bullshit that I am allowing myself to still go through. And a woman will make a man, I don't want to say all women, but a healthy woman will make a man better, because we would be content probably just sitting by a fire in a cabin, chopping wood, being in silence. But women really do help us level up. Like when you work with a lot of business owners, right? And a lot of them, I'm assuming men as well as not just men, but a lot of them are men.
Yeah, majority of them are men.
Any of them in relationships or married or anything like that?
Well, relationships.
Do they ever talk about like their personal problems with you, of like what's happening in their world or anything like that?
Not so much. If we're like writing content for emails and stuff like that, then they will. So that way we can kind of weave that through.
Okay.
Or their past. Like we have a relationship coach and everything that we're working with. So he helps women kind of deepen their intimacy and all of that. So we use his story a lot, where his wife kicked him out. He found himself in a cabin in the woods and was there for a couple of days. And that just kind of was the final push that he needed to really start figuring stuff out.
So it's a perfect example, right? Because we all go through we can use that as a metaphor, right? Like being kicked out, going into the woods. We can use that as like an example of, we will continue to let our own bullshit ruin our lives. Yep. Right? But when you have a good woman who loves you enough to kick you out and says you need to get your shit together, I'm still here, but you need to get your shit together. It's like, that is something that a man can actually fully devote himself to. It's like, wow, I almost fucked this up.
Yeah.
And not every man has that opportunity, because some women, they're just like, when they're done, they're done. And I don't blame them. I don't, because they can put up with a lot of our bullshit. But it's like, a man needs to be able to confront his demons. And that, I believe, as he continues to confront those demons and as he continues to take care of himself through the process and find God, whatever that means to the individual, and build a relationship with God, it allows this man to really show up, I believe, in a much deeper way in his relationship. And I believe that's where like true devotion comes from. It's like going back to something I said earlier, knowing that we don't need to be in this. We're choosing to be in this.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of people that get married that still get divorced because they don't actually believe in the vows that they took. Right? It's like, I was one of them 10 years ago. 2014, I got divorced.
Yeah, I was divorced 2020.
And now it's something very different, right? Because you have a family, you have a partner who actually believes in you, supports you, loves you, and also probably triggers you.
Oh, definitely triggers.
Yeah.
But in a healthy, good way that actually, like you said, makes me want to level up. It makes, like, I feel like a lot of men have egos on both sides that just kind of give them these blinders to their own shit. And a strong, powerful woman that still understands like how to be in her feminine will still call you out on the stuff that she sees in a way that, one, isn't triggering to you, but she does it in a way that makes you really contemplate, like, okay, you know what? She's noticing this. Can I take that step back and see where I have been doing this in my own life, and then build out an actual plan and start implementing that plan to make sure you don't do it again? And it's not about changing your partner or anything like that. It's about allowing them to see those like little tiny moments that they're not showing up at their best, so that way they can show up at their best every moment of the day, which I know is almost impossible, but as long as you can get close there, and like I say, 1% better a day is, what is that, 365% better per year, which is exponential growth.
Yeah. So I want to add something to that, because I think that was beautifully said. trust is a really big thing that needs to be at the core of that too. Because if you don't trust your woman or she doesn't trust you, which I believe is actually worse, if she doesn't trust you, there's a much deeper issue.
Yeah.
Because her nervous system is designed to seek safety. Physically, emotionally, spiritually, financially, right? Men are meant for risk. So we'll take more risk. But at their core, their nervous systems are designed to seek trust. And if she doesn't trust you, or it's probably you're not going to have that trust in your relationship. So why would she or you take something that they're saying as valuable?
Yeah.
Right? Because then it is going to come off as an attack. And no one's going to be listening. No one's going to be wanting to answer those questions. But that's why it's like trust is so needed at the core, and trusting God is so needed at the core of the relationship, where it's like, okay, like I love this woman enough and I trust her judgment to know that the things that she's telling me right now, there's got to be some truth in it.
Yeah.
Right. And people are probably going to talk about gaslighting and narcissism and all that. It's not what I'm talking about here. That's not a healthy relationship at all. But that trust right there, I think really helps a man. It's helped me significantly. Like Lulu's made me into a much better man than I was before. And I can imagine, and I know that Sam has done the same thing. Just like
100%.
an absolute up level. And now having a daughter, both of us do, it's like even more of an up level.
No, it definitely is, because like you just have to show up in a completely different way, especially having a daughter, because like we were talking about in the beginning, is you want to be that role model of what your daughter sees in a loving relationship. And I think that way too many people stay in their relationships thinking that we need to do it for the kids. But when it really comes down to it, like, you'll be doing your kids a better service by getting out of toxicity and not having them around that, and finding a partner that actually truly loves you and will show your kids what a healthy relationship looks like. Because the reason I believe this, because I lived through this. My mom stayed with her ex-husband thinking that because he had money and stuff like that, that he would be able to, provide for us and give us a better life. But when it really came down to it, like, I didn't want to see my mom go through that stuff. I didn't want to go through that stuff. So it would have been better for her to actually leave that relationship, find a healthy father figure that my brother and I could actually look up to. And then not only does that teach us that, it's okay that mistakes happen. Sometimes you're going to be with the wrong person, and you have to have the power to know when to leave that person and to get out of that relationship. So that way you can step into something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah. That's spot on. Because the child doesn't deserve to. It's like when a relationship or when a couple continuously is fighting, or they see this, they think that that's normal, and so they'll tend to search for that chaos in their life.
Yep.
And I think there really has to be like a coming to Jesus or coming to God moment, whatever you guys want to call it, but there has to be like a coming to God moment. It's like, what are we actually doing in this relationship? Like, do we love each other enough to work through this and actually understand each other? One of my teachers calls this like putting your partner's nervous system before your own. Like, what is being said? What is not being said? Right? The pain underneath.
Yeah.
So it's like, can you truly put your partner's nervous system before your own and get past? I think this is really powerful for men. Get past the own internal pain. And I'm speaking from experience, even recently, right? Like even the past 2 years. Like, I'm not perfect. I let my pain get the best of me. But it's this knowing, it's like, okay, what is it that she is feeling right now? Yeah, I'm in pain in this moment, but so is she. And if I care enough about her and love her enough to want to make this work even more and want to continue to have that trust and that foundation, like, I need to understand what's happening with her.
Yeah. That is super powerful, brother. Because it's so true. Because a lot of us get so caught up in our own thoughts and our own feelings that we don't take that step back and allow ourselves to look at how our partners are feeling in that very moment. And like Samantha and I, we noticed that sometimes we just would like bicker back and forth. And then when we'd started to bicker, then Athena would start screaming and acting out and stuff like that. And then we ended up getting a new puppy. And when the puppy was like doing something wrong, we would kind of yell at the puppy and tell the puppy not to do it. And then we started seeing Athena start yelling, "Bad dog," at the puppy, just like out of nowhere. The puppy wasn't doing anything wrong. And she just started just screaming at the dog. So you really have to watch out for what you say, how you say it, because the how you say it part is extremely important, especially between the ages of 2 and like 7, when they're like very receptible and they're just a sponge to everything that's going on.
Yeah.
Because Samantha couldn't get her shoe on one time and she was like, shit. And all of a sudden, like a week later, Athena's putting her shoe on and she can't get it on. And she's like, shit. So,
oh, man.
Yeah, dude.
So that's what I have to look forward to.
Yep.
That's so true, though. I mean, like, they're literally, you probably heard this growing up. It's like, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Right? Children don't learn that way.
No.
They learn by mimicking and mirroring. And even as we grow up, right, women evolve much faster than men do, especially intellectually in their brain. Their brains are fully developed by the age of 19. Ours is 26. But for a boy and a man, men learn by modeling continuously. We model other men, which is why we need such healthy father figures or healthy men in society right now. Because, I'm not sure if you're a fan of Andrew Tate, but it's like his message, I believe, had good intention, but the way that it's still going about it, it's like, bro, it's like, that's not where we're headed anymore.
Yep.
So there's this, we need to be able to learn from other men. And then children also need to be able to learn from healthy father figures, from healthy mother figures, because their brains, as you said, they're just so malleable. It's like constantly taking in information about everything. And it's just wild.
Oh, yeah. It really is. So this kind of brings me to the next question, which is, like, you often talk about how men feel stuck or lost, especially when they don't have a strong sense of purpose, which I feel like a lot of the stuff that we've talked about where men just, they allow them, like they allow their emotions to kind of take over and stuff like that. I feel like that's because they don't have an actual like purpose, and they get lost because they don't have like that true north on where they're going. So the smallest things really can just push them off because they don't have that bigger vision of what they're trying to accomplish. What's the first step for a man looking to like reclaim his direction?
Reclaim his direction. I mean, surrender the old shit. Like, I went through a process of realizing that I attached my identity and my value and my worth to Men of Refuge, being the men's work guy, being the one people went to for relationship support and advice. And when I was going through my challenges in 2023, last year as well, I realized how much of my identity was built into what other people perceived me as. And it was hard because I didn't see myself as that. Like, I had some really low points the last couple of years where I lacked self-worth and lacked belief. And I think what I know I needed to do was surrender it all. And that's a hard thing to do for a man, let alone just even a human being, is to surrender it all. I think women do much better with it because men like to control things. We need that sense of control, but just surrendering it all, of like, this is how I used to do it. This doesn't align with me anymore. God has a different direction for my path. Maybe this is what I'm supposed to do, but I decided to take control of it and put it somewhere else. And that was never the plan, right? Because that's where like free will comes in and the ego. And it's like, no, I want it to be this way. God's like, nope, this is where you're supposed to be going. So I'm going to continue to put obstacles in your way so that you learn, or not continue to put obstacles in your way. I don't think that's like what God's trying to do at all, to be honest.
I think he's molding you
right
to become who you need to be in order to fulfill the mission that he wants you to fulfill.
Exactly. Spot on. So you have to let go of what you thought you were going to build, what you thought you were going to create, and actually tune into, pray, meditate, do both. Obviously, I recommend praying and meditating. I still do breath work at times because it helps me become more clear. But just really listen to what God is trying to say and build that.
Yeah.
Right? If we take out the need, which is a core human need at times, but it's a very primal need, the need for significance. Right? Everybody wants to be an influencer. Everybody wants to have a successful business. Everybody wants to have the cars, the boats, the houses, the stuff. God will provide all that, but that's not what we should be striving for.
Yep.
There's nothing in the Bible that says you can't have these things.
It actually
it's all
says,
about.
Let me see. So Colossians 3:24-25 is, whatever you do, work heartedly as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ, which essentially means that if you do your work for the Lord will give you all of the fruits that you're trying to get. It might not be all of them because he's going to give you what you need and not necessarily what you want. However, he will sprinkle in some of those wants as long as you're living and working through the Lord.
Yeah. Spot on.
So like if you could leave every man listening with one message about becoming a stronger, more grounded man, what would it be?
Listen to your woman. That is a good one. But that's not it. I would say, my new belief is to seek to be more Christ-like. I think it's to seek to be more compassionate, more loving, more understanding, but also don't be afraid to speak your truth. Don't be afraid to let people know, like, don't be afraid to be direct. Don't be afraid to be assertive and do things in a way that is just like good for the world. It's not just for your own selfish needs. Although we do have them, we are humans living a human experience. But you talked about a word earlier. The question you had was about integrity. Be in integrity with everything you think, say, and do. Right? Build your kingdom.
Love it, brother. And then last one, at the end of your journey, if there's one message you want to leave behind, what would that be? I love asking this question.
That's a great question. The first thing that comes into my mind is something about my daughter. And I think something about it, I hope I was a good and faithful servant.
Love it.
Like I hope I was able, I have this metaphor, this, this visual, the meeting the man on the mountain. And that man is everything that I could ever do, will ever do, be. And it's like the pinnacle of me. And I hope that I get to meet that man, and that man looks back at me and he's like, job well done.
I love that, dude. Super powerful. Super powerful.
I have goosebumps saying that. I was like, damn.
Yeah. No, I love that. Let's clip it.
Let's run it.
Yeah. I appreciate you coming on here today. For those that want to go deeper into, your teachings, all of that, where's the best places for them to find you?
Oh, great question. So Instagram, I haven't been on it in like 2 months. I just got back on it today. Is at Fabiano_Mannino. If you need me to spell it out, I can, but I'm not sure if it'll be in your show notes.
Yeah, I'll put it down in the show notes below.
And then there's, my email is obviously easy, Fabiano@menofrefuge.com. The website, menofrefuge.com, even though that's going to be going through a pretty big overhaul based on a lot of the beliefs that I have now. And where else? LinkedIn, Facebook, all the good stuff.
Love it.
Yeah.
I will definitely get all of the links down below. And for those tuning in, thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next episode.
It's an honor, brother. Thank you.
You're welcome.